Tremendous here. I got another book review here for you. This one's called Find the Needle. It's part one, Diary of a Digital Outlaw by Frank Perotto. Like I said, I think I'm saying that right. It's about 230 pages long. It was published on June 14th, 2019. It's in the cyberpunk science fiction category and the hard science fiction category on Amazon. I downloaded it from Kindle Unlimited with my subscription, but it looks like you can get it for $2.99 an ebook or $9.99 paperback. I believe this is the only book that Mr. Perotto has on Amazon, and yes, it is. But it looks like it's going to be part of a series, so we'll have more in the future, I would guess. So this book is about a guy. So it's weird. The synopsis of the book and the prologue make you think that there's some sort of digital experiment going on where an individual is basically in a video game, but he thinks it's reality. But you don't get that in the story. The synopsis and the prologue really set you up for that. Like, you really think, cool, I'm getting a Grand Theft Auto-esque type book, and it's going to be really great. It's set in 2042 in California, and it's like, all right, great. This is going to be violent. This is going to be fun. There's going to be action. There's going to be adventure. It's a drama. It is a whiny drama. The main character, Dimitri, is... he's really stupid. How else to put it? He is a low-level street enforcer for a crime syndicate in this city in California, and it's super weird. It is unique. I will give it that. The way the book is written, it's written in first person, but you're reading the journal that he wrote to himself so that he could read it later because he's having trouble remembering things. And that's kind of the issue. Nothing happens in this book. It's 230 pages of nothing happening. Things almost happen, but it's a lot of plot lines where there's just nothing happening the entire time. It's super frustrating, and it's boring. It's slow, it's tedious, and I was bored a lot. The entire time, nothing happens. He's having these weird existential crises. He thinks that he's crazy, but he still acts like maybe the world is crazy. Nothing really gives you the hint. There's nothing that, like even Neo in The Matrix, which is where I think this book was trying to get to. You could tell, he could look back at his life and go, okay, yeah, I do remember that. Or, oh, wow, deja vu. It happens when they change something. I get that. Nothing like that happens here. There's little, very subtle hints, like he's sitting at his mother's house, and when he looks out a window that he remembers from his childhood, he sees this electrical tower out there, and it seems like it shifted a few feet to the right. And he looks at it, nothing happens with that. There's this scene, there's this whole plot, there's like 50 plots in this book, none of which are ever fleshed out. They are so vague and poorly fleshed out, if they're fleshed out at all, that you don't know what's going on. At the very beginning of the book, he's sitting at this restaurant watching one of those digital billboards as it cycles through the ads. And he sees these college kids on one of the ads, and they're looking through something. Turns out it's a microscope, but he doesn't know what a microscope is. There's a bunch of, he doesn't know what Nebraska is, he doesn't know what Florida is, he doesn't know what tides are, he doesn't know what the internet is, he doesn't know, but he's got a computer, but there's no internet. So there's all these weird, red flags up in the air, but they're never fleshed out. You don't get an explanation. It's like the author lost interest in trying to explain anything to you so that this guy could mindlessly ramble for just paragraphs. He gets off topic, he gets off on tangents, and then when he comes back to the original point, it's like he forgot what he said. It's like, what are you babbling about? So anyway, the microscopes. Sorry, now I'm doing it. Maybe I should write a journal. He's sitting here, and he there's this whole thing from the very beginning of the book where he wants to figure out what this thing is. He finally gets told what it is, and when he discovers what a microscope is, now he wants one. Now he wants one more than anything. He believes if he can get a microscope that he can fix everything wrong with his life, and I'll get into it in the spoilers, but it never fleshes out. It's nothing. There's so much nothing in this book. It's painful, and it just happens constantly. There's an entire the book spent more time on a date between him and his girlfriend than it does fleshing anything out. He's a street enforcer for a criminal element, and you just get told in generalities what he does for them. There's one time where he beats some guy up and he doesn't even know why he's beating this guy up, and that's it. That's it. He doesn't do any gangster stuff. He doesn't do any real criminal stuff. It's constant whining. It's constant drama. It's constant babbling about, oh, poor me. Oh, I've got all these issues. It's a drama. It is a terrible reality. It's bad reality TV without the TV. And it's all it is. It's this guy constantly whining about everything and little hints at a broader, greater story that we never get. So when the book ends, it just friggin' ends. It's not a cliffhanger. It's not a suspenseful ending. It's not an interesting ending. It's just he comes up with a to-do list and that's it. Book's over. There's no antagonist. There's no protagonist. There's no plot. There's no climax. There's nothing interesting that happens at all. The entire book. It is 230 pages of rambling tangents that barely connect with each other, and it's infuriating. Also, I don't believe that this book was hit by an actual editor. There's a lot of there's small mistakes, but obvious mistakes. A couple of times in the middle of a sentence, the word that starts off the sentence, the first two letters are capitalized, and the rest of it is not. And there's a lot where it looked like maybe it was proofread, but instead he realized that how the sentence was structured was wrong, and so he fixed the sentence but didn't delete the other portion. So, for example, a sentence might say something along the lines of, it's talking about a boat, and so he went to the boat where the boat was stationed. Boat went into the water. It's just like, wow, he needs an editor. The book needs an editor. It wasn't super bad or anything like that, but it was regular, and that hurt a little bit. So as always, get an editor for anything that you're going to publish, please. I don't care if you invented the English language. Everybody needs an editor, myself included. So it was a little frustrating that way. The only real thing that I see as positive from this book was I thought that the first person writing a journal for himself to read was interesting. I do believe that it wasn't hard to believe that the main character was real. Although I got to be honest with you, I think the author didn't. I think who the main character was changed a lot throughout the writing of this book, because one minute he's this Estonian immigrant into America that isn't super intelligent, doesn't have a great vocabulary. He's kind of a dumb person. He's a short order cook at a crappy restaurant at one point. Yet he uses these really sophisticated, really obscure words sometimes, and yet at the same time he doesn't know what tides are. It's all over the place. It really is. I didn't enjoy this book. I don't hate it, but just by a slight margin, only because I'm kind of impressed with the perspective that it's written in. I think it's unique, and it's not hard to believe that Dimitri's a real person, a simple thug with no clue what life is really. It's mind-numbing. I'm going to give it 1.5 stars out of 5 just because of everything that I've just said. It's mind-numbingly boring. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. I don't even know what I should be upset about or what we're fighting against or what we're looking to do. There's 50, I'm not even exaggerating, there's like 50 different plots in this book, none of which are fleshed out. None are fleshed out. There's a sister that you don't even meet. We hear about her, she's super important, and you don't even meet her. You don't even meet her, ever. Also, there's a lot of proofreading things and editing things that need to be fixed, the poor punctuation, but also characters, their names change. I don't know if that's supposed to, like his mother's name is Vilma, Vilma, at first, and then it changes to Wilma. Now, I don't know if that's a plot point. I don't know if that's just an honest mistake or if the author just didn't proofread real close. Another one is this cousin D, D. And then all of a sudden, Rich, my cousin D, Rich is his name. And then later on, it's my cousin G, rich. And I'm like, it's what? Is it the same person? Is this another plot point that's not being fleshed out? Is this a mistake from proofreading? You don't know. You don't know about anything. The tower I talked about earlier, never explored after that. He gets told he's crazy to ignore it, and he does. It's over. 1.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to go ahead and play an ad, do the spoiler review, and then I'm just going to rant in the spoiler section. So buckle up. Hey, y'all. So everybody knows that just finishing a book isn't the entire battle. You gotta have an editor. Otherwise, there's a good chance your book is gonna be awful. So if you're looking for one, my editor, elatoria at Fiverr.com, is available for a very good price. If you want, go check her out. Spoilers are coming next, so if you're still here when the music stops, that's on you. All right, you're still here, so let's get to it. So like I said, the book starts off, he's at a diner, and he's watching this billboard, this digital billboard, as different ads, cycle through it. And he sees these college kids looking through a microscope. But he doesn't know what a microscope is. For whatever reason, you never find out. But like I said, there's a lot of things like that in this book. He doesn't know where Nebraska is. He doesn't know where Florida is. He says a lot of weird things, like, what, 2 in the hand is worth 3 in the bush or something like that. But so why do I say that? What does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of little red herrings like that. A lot of little, just these blunt plot hooks that never get fleshed out, that are never explained. But this is the big one. And it's about this microscope. And it's this huge big deal that he talks to this cohort of his about this microscope so he can figure out what it is, so that he can know. He feels like if he figures this out, his whole life will come together. Spoiler alert, after he finally gets told that it's a microscope and that everybody knows what that is, and it's weird that he doesn't, he decides that he wants one later in the book, much, much later, almost at the end of the book. So this guy, being the atom splitter that he is, decides he's going to steal one. He goes to the university on the billboard, breaks in, tries to steal a microscope. He bungles it, gets arrested, and thrown in prison for like a couple of days, and then he gets released. And it's just, that's it. No big deal, Don't do it again. Shame, shame. But then he loses all interest in this huge plot hook. He just loses all interest in it after that. He's like, you ever want something really, really bad and then you almost get it and then lose all interest in it? Yeah, that's what happened to me. What? This was supposed to be like this major turning point, right? It's built up like it's going to be a major turning point, and no, it's nothing. It turns out that whole thing was a huge waste of your time because it literally doesn't affect the story at all, other than misleading you completely. There's all sorts of stuff like that. His mother has cancer, and she's got all these medical bills. The money just falls into his lap, and the author does say, the story does say, yeah, if I want something bad enough or I concentrate on something hard enough, it eventually will fall into my lap. But it does. His mother's got like a $57,000 medical bill. All of a sudden, his boss offers him, or he goes to handle something for his boss, and he gets all this money given to him. So he's able to handle his mom's medical bills. She's got stage 3 breast cancer, and it's a huge big deal until it's not. And then it's a side note. It's something that he thinks about occasionally, and that's it. That's done. He's at his mother's house shortly after he finds out she has cancer, and he looks out the window and he notices that the electrical tower 300 yards away from her house or whatever, he used to be able to line it up with the window panes. Now he can't because it looks like it's been moved a few feet to the right. Super weird. He brings it up. He has a big conversation with his mom about it, and then it's it. No resolution, no explanation, nothing. Just, okay, that's it. He's got a sister named Faith. You never meet her. She became a stripper. Mom is fine with that. He's got a problem with it. You think, okay, great. He's going to go up against his boss because the strip club that his sister works at is run by his boss. No, nothing. You hear about her in passing occasionally, and that's about it. He's got to do a major job at one point. He's a street thug. They call him the Ghost Bear for no flippin' reason. Even the character admits that in the book. They don't call me that for any reason. I didn't do anything. So it's super confusing. He goes and he's a low-level street thug for these guys, but the work that he does is glossed over. I had to deliver a car. I had to provide protection. I had to, shake down this group, shake down that group. Nothing comes up. You don't even hear about it. There's one thing that he does, and that's when he beats this guy up in the beginning with his coworker. They beat this guy within an inch of his life, and then they drop him off at a hospital, and that's it. You never hear anything about that. You find out that he was a short order cook at one point at this crappy little restaurant, and he beat up one of the guys that were attacking this little old lady, and he got a job with the crime syndicate. That's how they hooked him up, because they were impressed that he was able to beat up one of his guys to, I don't know, protect the honor of the old woman. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is like that. The whole thing. At one point, you're told about his boss. His boss has this huge drug addiction, but the thing is, they both came up at the same time, but the original boss died. His buddy took over as the new boss, and then he got addicted to this ridiculous drug, but his boss is setting him up for this huge fight, this huge battle, this huge crime wave thing. Nothing happens. Nothing ever comes to that. It gets forgotten about. Literally, it gets dropped. A week goes by after he was supposed to do it, and nope, he just doesn't. He just doesn't do it, and nothing happens. Nothing's brought up. We'll just postpone it. We'll do it later. It gets built up, and then nothing happens. At one point, this girlfriend of his, which you hear about for about 200 pages, shows up at the very end of the book, other than for a really curt, like, oral sex scene in the middle of the book, which is super stupid. But anyway, at the very end of the book, he hooks up with his girlfriend. They go on this crazy date because everybody thinks he's having a nervous breakdown, which, honestly, they'd have just put a friggin' bullet in his head and been done with it. But anyway, he goes out on this crazy date with his stupid girlfriend, and they end up at the beach. He's in the water, and his legs freeze up on him, and he's stuck in this beach you'll get no explanation about it whatsoever. His legs get stuck. He ends up in the hospital because he's having like a weird seizure, mental breakdown, whatever, and no explanation. The docs are like, oh, you have PTSD and trauma from a childhood experience that all of a sudden he remembers. Again, this is another just plot point. I get that the author is setting up a foundation of crazy lunacy and stuff like that, because I know, thanks to the prologue and the synopsis of the book, that he's in a video game, but in the book, it's never like shown. Like he never figures it out. He never has any idea what's going on, and nothing happens. There's some very mildly odd things that are happening to him, some conveniences, but it's a weak story. It is a paper-thin plot that has more holes in it than anything else. And to think that somebody's going to sit through and read this and then think, well, I just wasted hours of my life for zero payoff. Nothing happens this entire book. Not one thing happens. Nothing. There's few books I've read that have made me as bored as this one, because nothing happens. Things almost happen. Things almost occur. You get teased like 50 times, like, ooh, kidding. Ooh, kidding. It's like smelling a pie being cooked all day, and then when it gets pulled out of the oven, it's perfect, and then thrown in a garbage disposal. It's that kind of letdown. It's just, what is happening? Why? It's billed as sci-fi. It's built as this big adventure. The guy is a crime thug type, a crime syndicate, low-level enforcer, and you're like, this is going to be good. This is going to have action. This is going to be gritty. It's a drama. It is a cheesy, crappy reality show story, and it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. I couldn't see anybody going into part 2. I could not see anybody reading part 2 because they need to know what happens, because nothing happened in the first book. I'm not even sure where it could go. Everything is still there. I understand it's part 1, and he's trying to build a foundation, and he's trying to make all this stuff come together, but there's no hook. There's no interest. There's nothing. If I hadn't wanted to do the review for this book, I'd have thrown it out a long time ago, because there was nothing driving me to keep going. The character is uninteresting. The plots are all over the place and never fleshed out. The characters, other than the main character, I can believe he's real. Just the writing and stuff in his journal. He's a rambling idiot. He really is. And it's just, there's so many things hinted at that would make this story great if just one of them was fleshed out, or if there was a hint about what was going on. A couple of places in the book, He's writing, and then in parentheses and bold script, it says error and a random 3-digit number. In the beginning of the book, there's something about 229. February 29th, and there's this girl later on when he's on, like, it's throughout, at the very beginning of the book, it's talked about. And then it's ignored for the entire book until the very end, where honestly it just feels like the author finally remembered that. And he tries to shoehorn it in by, while he's on a date, this waitress, her birthday is on 229, February 29th. Nobody talks like that. But yeah, sure, the waitress says, my birthday is on 229. I think they can get you punched in the face in this crappy ass city that he lives in, but whatever. They needed the hook. And again, it's like, ooh, there's something interesting there. And he even makes a point. He's going to come back. He's going to talk to this girl because he feels like she's got something for him. Like she knows something. She shows interest in him. He bumps into her at the restaurant while he's there. She shows interest. So it's like, oh, okay, a love triangle maybe, or some sort of weird thing that's making his girlfriend go crazy. Nope, nothing. Nothing else is even brought up. It's not even on his list of things to do at the end of the book. It's just like, what the hell is going on in this story? Nothing happens. Between that and the small proofreading things that need to be fixed and everything like that, this book was a major letdown. I'm giving it 1.5 out of 5 stars, and I did not like it. I really didn't like this book. Because nothing happens. There's nothing going on in this book whatsoever. The prologue was more interesting than the rest of the book, and that is disappointing. Of course, I know that this is all just my opinion, and it doesn't mean that it's 100% fact. Feel free to check this book out yourself. The link is in the description below. Feel free to check it out. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited with your subscription. It's a quick read. It's boring. It's a slow book and nothing happens. But maybe you'll see something I don't. There are 2 other reviews before mine that show that this book is somebody liked it. Some people liked it. There's currently at the time there's like, oh no, there's 10 reviews on this one. And there's a few that are 5, a few that are 4. Just feel free to check it out and come back and tell me what you think, because I could always be wrong. I'm well aware of that, and I would love to have a conversation about it. That's going to do it for this one, though. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.